I was driving down here today from Atlanta, and I read an article from the New York Times that Bill Gates had just donated $50 million to Kamala Harris's campaign. And the article said that it was the first donation that he's made in 20 years, that he stayed out of politics, that he's been bipartisan. It was a dark money donation. Well, there was something else, another article about Bill Gates that came out today that said he's just been indicted. He's been indicted in the Netherlands for lying to the public about the COVID vaccine. And he's going to have to go to trial. You think that he wants to go to trial here in the United States of America? You think maybe that's one of the reasons he chose to give $50 million to Kamala Harris?
The speech you just saw was not covered by any legacy media channels, and yet it has broken the internet in the past couple of days. People on X have been posting and reposting it again and again to spread the word of what might be the biggest story of corruption and cover-up in recent years. And I'm going to show you why everything he said in his speech is accurate. As you just heard the man, Bill Gates has been indicted in a COVID-19 vaccine-related case in the Netherlands and now faces trial. Now, just like most of you, I was surprised to hear this because I haven't seen or heard anything about this case on mainstream media. In fact, when I tried to Google it, nothing showed up. But this is when I found out how everyone is involved in this cover-up. Just look at what shows when you search Bill Gates indictment on Google. As you can see, there are no articles about this even if you keep scrolling. However, if you search the same thing on a different engine like DuckDuckGo, the results are completely different. There are multiple articles covering the case and explaining how the billionaire has just been indicted in a Dutch court. I mean, the fact that Google has to hide it just goes to show how much influence Gates has and how many ultra-rich companies are trying to bury this story. But we already knew that, to be honest, so for now, let's just read one of these articles to find out what Google does not want us to read. According to this news story, a Dutch court has ordered that Bill Gates will face trial in the Netherlands over his involvement in misleading the public about the safety of COVID-19 vaccines. The plaintiffs filed the lawsuit last year, naming Gates, along with former Dutch Prime Minister and current NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, members of the Dutch government's COVID-19 outbreak management team, Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, and the Dutch state itself. The plaintiffs argue that Gates, through his involvement with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the World Economic Forum, were involved in a far-reaching agenda referred to as the Great Reset Project, and it sought to exploit the global crisis in order to implement sweeping societal changes, all under the guise of combating the pandemic. So, by giving so much money to Kamala, Bill Gates is basically trying to make sure that he will have a president who will support him even if things get rough. And while this indictment might be the last straw, I think Bill Gates has another reason to stop Trump from winning the election. We all certainly know about his history with Jeffrey Epstein and how the two of them were very close. Of course, later on, he said he feels bad about ever hanging out with that monster.
And, you know, I've said I regretted having those dinners, and there's absolutely nothing new on that.
Is there a lesson for you, for anyone else looking at this?
Well, he's dead, so, you know, in general, you always have to be careful. And, you know, I'm very proud of what we've done in philanthropy, very proud of the work of the foundation. You know, that's what I get up every day and focus on.
However, feeling bad about your actions doesn't mean he isn't guilty. Of course, thanks to some mind-boggling legal reasons, the names of Epstein's partners have not been released to the public, but according to Elon Musk, that might change very soon.
You know, I think part of why Kamala is getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public.
Yes.
And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Yeah. Do you think Reid Hoffman's uncomfortable?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Gates.
And Gates.
Yeah.
And I only ask that because you just look at them and you're like, that's a nervous person right there. I don't know. I mean, I assume you know them. Yeah.
Yes. Reid Hoffman was my vice president of business development at PayPal.
Yeah.
24 years ago.
Does he seem nervous to you?
Yeah, I mean, he's terrified of a Trump victory.
Because of the disclosure that would follow?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think he's certainly ideologically not aligned with Trump anyway, but I think he is concerned about the Epstein situation.
If the Tesla founder is telling the truth, this is very bad news for so many people, including multiple billionaires who were doing all of those vile and disgusting things on Epstein Island. So of course it makes perfect sense for them to support Kamala Harris, and it looks like Bill Gates has now bought a seat in that life raft by paying $50 million. Now, after personally seeing the total media blackout of this story, I can't say for certain how long this video will stay up. So please make sure to share it with everyone you can, because people really need to know what's going on.
Turns out that, the vaccines were developed not by Moderna and Pfizer. They were developed by NIH. They're owned, the patents are owned 50% by NIH. Nor were they manufactured by Pfizer or by Moderna. They were manufactured by military contractors. And basically, Pfizer and Moderna were paid to put their stamps on those vaccines as if they came from the pharmaceutical industry. But, that's not what they were doing. They were coming from, this was a military project from the beginning.